Hey everyone out there, Dan here from GeekCast Radio doing another comic book haul video where I go through my recent pickups. I won't get into any full reviews or anything like that, as most of these books I haven't read yet. It is a big week in comics. Marvel, DC had a lot this week. Maybe, I guess with the holiday, they thought, hey, let's throw everything out there, especially one special book that I'm sure people are talking about. But I won't go into any full reviews or anything like that. Many of these books I will do specific reviews on to give you more detailed thoughts on them. But like I said, big week, so let's just go ahead and jump into it. And starting with the last issue of Man of Steel miniseries, number 6, Brian Michael Bendis' kind of lead in to his eventual takeover of Superman, with Superman number 1 and Action Comics 1001 coming out very shortly. I thought about doing a review of each issue of this, but by the second issue, I thought I was going to hold off because I felt those reviews get relatively repetitive because I'd be kind of harping on the same things just based upon the setup of the series by the end of it, which kind of may indicate kind of my thoughts and opinions on it. I will say I thought it was getting better as it went on. We'll see with issue number 6 how well it finishes. Ultimately, I want to just talk about, is it successful at getting people excited, getting myself excited for Bendis' Superman number 1, Action Comics number 1? Does it give us an idea? What is the ultimate effect of this series? And still time will tell. But I think there's certainly a lot to talk about. Some good, some bad, some questions I still have. Some of them may be answered within this. But I think it wasn't, by the third issue, I could tell wasn't what I was completely expecting his approach to be. It was a little bit, it was more of a lead-in than kind of a reassessment of the status quo of Superman. At least that's what I was feeling. I still have to read the last 2 issues. From Dark Horse, have Sword Daughter number 2. I really like the first issue of Sword Daughter. This is from Brian Wood, who I'm a huge fan of. This is similar Vikings story that he's done before. This takes place in 991, and is this father who is now on this journey with his daughter to seek revenge because when about a decade ago a Viking group came in and killed basically everyone, and after that he was in this comatose state, and his daughter basically raised herself, and now they're on this journey. But there's this really huge disconnect between himself and his father and his daughter. He's still trying to protect her. She's mute, and all of her words and verbiage are kind of shown through symbols, which was kind of an interesting idea. I will say though, I like the first issue. I want to see major improvement, or be much more excited by the end of this issue, because it is a $3.99 book, or $4.99 book. So with that price tag, I'm hoping that it kind of ends on, or makes me much more excited than the first issue did, because like I mentioned, I thought Brian Wood told similar stories that were maybe better than this. And with that price point, if it's I may wait till trade, because as you know, there's a lot of books out there. But I trust him as a writer. Like, I've really liked his RoboCop series, so by the end of that second issue, I might love it and be like, wow, this is something I'm gonna definitely keep on to, and maybe I'll drop some other books, because I do have a few that I'll be talking about that are kind of on the precipice of maybe this will be a book I stop picking up. One I've just started picking up is Cosmic Ghost Rider number 1. Super excited for this. Donny Cates has been really killing it in the world of Marvel since he took over. This coming from his Thanos run. Thanos Wins, like many. I was a huge fan of that series. Cosmic Ghost Rider was a fun character. I'm curious to see if he can maintain his entire series by himself. It's only a mini though, and I'm not sure if this takes place after the events of Thanos Wins, which would be kind of weird because the world was basically over and he was dead, or possibly more of his origin that we saw. I've been trying to stay away from most of the solicits until I read the book, and I thought this was going to be written by or drawn by Jeff Shaw, but it's Dylan Burnett, who I'm not super familiar with, but see how well he does. Donny Cates usually does a good job of partnering with artists that really fit his style, so I expect that to be the case. So even if they're not well-known artists, like Jeff Shaw was someone that his first Marvel book was with Donny Cates, and now I think he's been doing a lot of covers and stuff like that. I hope we get more Jeff Shaw, because him and Donny Cates work really well together. Also from DC, I have Justice League number 3, and this is a book, after the first issue, I was really excited for it. I didn't love No Surrender, I didn't love Metal, but the first issue of Justice League number 1, kind of everything I didn't like about it, it kind of changed my opinion, because I thought utilizing Martian Manhunter, it felt more character driven because of that, and the chaos was a little bit more contained, and it wasn't just a bunch of concepts that were kind of thrown together for the fun of it. The second issue kind of changed that a little bit. Now I'm kind of concerned. So this third issue, if it goes the route of No Surrender or Metal, I might end up dropping this. But if it kind of gets back and I feel like it's kind of improving or more to my liking, I'll keep with it. So I jumped the gun because I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to be picking this up, but now I kind of wish I waited. That's what I get, I guess. One book that I'm pretty sure I'm going to love because I feel like Captain America can do no wrong right now. I don't know how he writes as many books as he does. I don't know if he has some sort of room that time moves differently, but we have another book from the Dark Black Hammer universe with the Quantum Age #1. This taking place in the future of the Black Hammer universe. Again, written by Jeff Lemire, and Wilford Torres is doing the art. I love the spin-offs that we've gotten so far, Sherlock Frankenstein and Dr. Star, which I think is arguably just as good as any Black Hammer book. So a lot of expectations going into this to see this approach. I love how expansive this Black Hammer universe is getting. It started off as this little tale, and even through the Black Hammer series itself, it's basically become the new Astro City, even though Astro City is still going on, or at least it had its last single issue. Now it's going to be going in trade. So, but it's just basically Jeff Lemire being able to play with superheroes the way that he wants to, and as we see, that's been working relatively effectively. From Image, also we have Death and Glory #3. Like this so far, the first issue was a little bit more straightforward than I expected from a Rick Remender series. The second issue, the Rick Remender-ness really came out, some really twisted and things, and we found out there was a lot more going on than we first anticipated. I'm curious to see where issue #3 goes. It's still a little bit like, as a fan of Rick Remender with things like Deadly Class and Black Science, there's a lot through the narrative, a lot of different characters, a lot of different pieces. This hasn't had as much, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's kind of just much more straightforward in the sense of the story it's telling, although obviously it's just beginning, and I've really enjoyed the Bengal art, so excited to see where this goes. But Rick Remender seems to be, he's got a good approach, and I think like his style can really adjust in a way where you still feel like you're reading a Rick Remender book, but he can do different genres really well, whether it's straight science fiction, more dramatic, more coming of age, even though I don't know if you would call Deadly Class coming of age, but in a way it is, but a very unconventional coming of age story. Also from IDW, Under Siege Judge Dredd Under Siege #2. Not a huge Judge Dredd fan. I have not read a lot of Judge Dredd comics. The reason I picked this up was because of Mark Russell, who did the Flintstones and Snagglepuss, and now he is getting into the world of Judge Dredd. And he's done some superhero backup stories within some of the specials, and I'm seeing him he's slowly, I think, getting into the world of general superheroes, or I guess if you call Judge Dredd a superhero, but still with this, maintaining kind of that ability to kind of have a little bit extra, a little bit more social commentary with this. A big piece of this is kind of the construct of Mega City 1 and what that would look like. But still, it's a huge action set piece. It does remind me a little bit of the Dredd movie where they're stuck in this building trying to fight their way out. But I really liked issue #1. Excited to see where issue #2 goes. But like I said, it's a good approach to the character. I don't know if the voice is a lot different for a character like Judge Dredd, because I've not read a lot of Dredd comics, but for me, it's been very satisfying, at least for the first issue. Probably my book I'm up there with how excited I am is Captain America #1. Huge excitement for this. I mean, Captain America is my favorite superhero. I love Mark Waid's run. I thought it really got Captain America to a place he needed to be, reminded the world of why it was such a great character. Now Ta-Nehisi Coates is coming in, and I don't know what his approach is going to be with this. Is it going to still deal with the ramifications of Secret Empire? Mark Waid's run kind of did, but really didn't. Is it? I see this in Alex Ross cover, which I think is fantastic. It has a huge World War II vibe. Is that going to be part of it? Ed Brubaker's run, it really saw the impact of World War II that still has like those memories and thoughts really stayed within him. And sometimes writers can get away from that. And Captain America is a hard character to write well. People can make him too one-dimensional, but if you get the character right, it can be amazing. So I'm curious to see where Ta-Nehisi Coates. He's come really far as a comic book writer. I didn't love his Black Panther run, but the relaunch I thought really improved it, and curious to see how he's taking on Captain America. It could be great. We'll see. From Jason Aaron, we have Avengers #4. I like the first 3 issues. The third issue, though, I felt was the weakest of it so far. It feels like this team is at a place where it should be coming together, but it isn't quite yet. It still feels like I understand the purpose of kind of waiting for them to form the Avengers, but it still feels like all these different pieces are a little bit disconnected. Curious to see where this goes with Odin and Thor coming face to face. We still have that celestial threat. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed Jason Aaron's voices for many of these characters, especially last issue. There was a great interaction between Loki and Captain America, which is a character that Aaron has not written a great deal, so it's great seeing him being able to kind of find voices for each of these characters. But I feel like Avengers is still better than where it was, but I think I just want to see it to take that next step to be one of Jason Aaron's best books. Still not to say the level of his best stuff, but his best stuff usually takes a little bit to kind of get established, or at least he is very long form in his narratives where things start coming together, and it's kind of appreciated of, especially his Thor run where you see the bigger picture and it becomes like everything even from before becomes better because of it. So we'll see. Like I said, still like it, but it's, I guess, with Jason Aaron, I have huge expectations, and they're not quite there yet, but they're on their way. A book that I've had expectations for, and it met it with the first issue with Immortal Hulk #1. Now #2 is coming out. This horror-esque approach. Now, Hulk is not a character I typically keep up with a great deal, but I like Al Ewing's kind of pitch on this idea. I liked what we got in the No Surrender series, the first introduction to it, and the first issue I thought did a really good job of kind of getting us an idea of where he'll be taking it. And Joe Bennett, who's on the art, I thought was pretty impressive, kind of doing some of the best stuff he's done for Marvel. So really like this approach. I don't know who that is on the cover. I don't know if that's Radioactive Man. We'll see. In the first issue, Hulk didn't really deal with any superhero type of characters, so I don't know if that's going to be continuation or what's going to happen here. Also for Marvel, I have Deadpool #2. The first issue, to me, I'm a huge Scotty Young fan. This first issue I was a little bit let down with. Maybe my expectations were too high, but I felt like his sensibilities really meshed well with the character of Deadpool. And the first issue was fine, but it didn't didn't have that voice I was expecting. I thought the design of it was broken up into like 3 different stories. It felt a little bit unnecessary, but there are pieces there where it's like, okay, if he can continue on this, if he can build upon this, it can be great again. So issue #2, we'll see how well that goes. I'm excited to see. Crazy Guns, this is, and I do feel like Scotty Young is best when he is writing and drawing his own stuff, so I don't know, maybe that's the disconnect, but I'm hoping that we'll see improvement with issue #2. Probably the book I'm maybe most excited about this week is Catwoman #1, basically because I'm a huge Joelle Jones fan. I love Lady Killer. I thought that was an amazing series. Her writing and drawing this has me super excited to see how she takes on this character. As many know, this, as it says on the cover, and this is supposed to this takes place after Batman #50, so the ramifications of that will bleed into this book. But Catwoman's not a character I typically follow, but Joelle Jones is a creator that I've been excited. I'm excited that she was able to do a lot of Marvel books or DC Batman books, and now her getting her own series. I think this could be something really special. Her style fitting in with Catwoman seems actually perfect for me, so great to see. Another book that I can't decide if I want to keep going with it, and this third issue will tell me a lot, or if I want to maybe hold off, is Doctor Strange #3. It hasn't necessarily been bad, it just hasn't been necessarily rather grabbing me or impressing me or getting me excited for the next issue. It's been kind of okay. There's some things I've appreciated about it, some things I love the use of narration, but it feels like we're kind of stuck in more of a kind of treading water with the character of Doctor Strange, where he was previously. So we'll see where it goes, but I love Super Skrull, and this is an Infinity Wars tie-in, so maybe this will, again, similar to like Sword Daughter, get me excited for the next issue, but if not, I may end up stop following that series. I talked about this is actually from last week, but I didn't pick it up because I forgot to. Black Panther #2. The first issue was much better than I thought it was going to be. this almost Star Wars-esque Black Panther take. It's been a lot of fun. It's taking place in the future. So, and we see Ta-Nehisi Coates has really grown as a comic book writer. He's a great writer, but writing for comics is a different beast. And it took him a little bit to kind of find his way. And the first issue was like, okay, he's got this. So I picked up the second issue. I thought I added it to my pull, but I didn't. So I had to go back and fix that. So hopefully that continues. Again, hopefully it's not a Justice League situation where I'm like, oh, this is great, and then the problems I had come back. But we'll see. And last, of course, probably the biggest book, at least attention-wise, was Batman number 50. I've not been collecting Batman, but as we know, this is going to be worth millions of dollars later, so I figured why not pick it up now, because it's only $4.99. But also it has a free digital code, and I tend to... reason I don't tend to pick up a lot of DC books is because it doesn't have that, and I tend to read books digitally more so than I do physically. But I know this was spoiled on New York Times. I've been able to miss most of the spoils, most of the big spoilers. I have an idea of where it's going to be going, but we'll see. And I plan on doing a full video of this, which is another reason I picked it up, to see how well, where is this going. I think people are focusing on does she or doesn't she, or do they get married or don't they? And I don't like that answer. To me, it can go either way, and I'll be fine with it. To me, the question is what happens next. Either you have a Batman that is utterly depressed because the person he's marrying, or maybe he ends up not marrying her or whatever, or maybe he marries her, and then what does that look like? How does a Batman with a relationship or with a wife, what does that world look like? We see what it works with Superman. It's actually made Superman a more interesting character. Could it work with Batman? I think either provide interesting ways to approach the stories that are coming up. So I don't know. Obviously, even if they do get married, it will probably, they'll one more day it as they do 10 years from now or what have you. But I don't know. I've been really liking Tom King's run. I haven't loved every issue of it, every arc, but even when I don't love a story, there's pieces of it that I find intriguing. I like the fact that it's not been a book about whatever crazy villain plot there is, but it's been a book, more of a character-driven book, which is usually what I appreciate and what I gravitate towards, which is usually why I go to more creator-owned type of series. But that's my haul for this week. A huge week for me, at least. I don't know for others out there. What are you excited about? What did you pick up? And as I indicated, for many of these, I'll be doing more full reviews, and you can check that out on this page now. But for now, remember that comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.